Have you ever loved someone so much that the thought of them betraying you felt like a physical impossibility, like gravity suddenly deciding to work in reverse? That's how I felt about Sarah. So when I saw her laughing on the phone, her back to me, in the kitchen of our Lincoln Park brownstone, a cold dread washed over me. It wasn't the sound of her talking to a friend. It was different, a secret private joy that didn't include me. She ended the call, turned around, and her smile vanished the second she saw my face. "What are you looking at?" she asked, her voice sharp. Didn't have an answer then. I just knew something was terribly wrong. I was standing on a cliff, and the ground beneath my feet was starting to crumble. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel, tell us where you're from and what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. For 10 years, Sarah was my world. We built a life together here in Chicago. I thought we were happy. I was a software architect. She was a marketing executive. We were the couple everyone envied. Then, the little things started. The late nights at the office became more frequent. The business trips extended by a day or two. When I'd try to hug her, she'd flinch, just for a second, before forcing a smile. At our friend's anniversary party, her boss Mark made a toast. He kept looking at Sarah, a smug little smirk on his face. I saw her blush. Later, when he put his hand on the small of her back to guide her through the crowd, I felt a surge of pure, primal anger. I confronted her on the car ride home. "It's just Mark," she said, rolling her eyes. "You're being paranoid." "He's my boss, David." "God, you're so insecure." The word insecure was a slap. She made me feel small, foolish. My humiliation was a constant dull ache in my chest. The clues were like breadcrumbs, scattered and almost meaningless on their own. A receipt from a jewelry store for a necklace I never saw. A recurring charge for a room at the Langham Hotel, right on the Chicago River, always on a weekday afternoon. I found it going through our joint credit card statement, looking for a tax-deductible expense. "It must be a mistake," she'd say, her voice smooth as silk. "I'll call the credit card company." She never did. One evening, she left her phone on the coffee table while she showered. A text notification lit up the screen. It was from Mark Work. It just said, "Tonight was incredible. Can't stop thinking about you." My heart stopped. I felt the air leave my lungs. I didn't confront her. Not yet. The part of me that loved her, the part that had built our life, refused to believe it. It couldn't be true. But the evidence was piling up, forming a mountain I couldn't ignore. As I got closer to the truth, Sarah transformed. The warm, loving woman I married was replaced by a cold, calculating stranger. My questions were met with gaslighting. "You're losing your mind, David. Maybe you should talk to someone." She weaponized my love for her, making me feel like I was the one destroying our marriage with my suspicions. She and Mark became bolder, more arrogant. They thought I was a fool. One night I overheard them talking on her car's Bluetooth as she pulled into the garage. I was standing just inside the door. "He has no idea," Mark laughed. "Poor guy probably thinks you're really working late." Sarah's voice joined his laughter. "He believes anything I tell him," she said, the words dripping with contempt. "He's just so predictable." Hearing the woman I loved mock me with her lover, shattered the last bit of denial I was clinging to. That night, I broke. I locked myself in my home office, the room filled with pictures of us, of our life together. I sank to the floor and sobbed, raw guttural sound of a man whose entire world had been revealed as a lie. The humiliation, the betrayal, the love I still felt, it all swirled into an unbearable storm of pain. For hours, I just stayed there, hollowed out. But as the sun began to rise, painting the Chicago skyline in shades of gray and pink, something inside me shifted. The grief didn't disappear, but it crystallized. It hardened into a single cold purpose. I thought I was a predictable fool. They were about to find out just how wrong they were. The next morning, I was a different man. The pain was still there, but it was fuel now. I began my work in secret, my software architect. My job is to see systems, find vulnerabilities, and build structures. Sarah's digital life was just another system. She was careless. She used the same password manager for everything, and it auto-synced across her devices. One evening, she asked me to order something for her from her laptop. A single moment of convenience was her undoing. I saw the password manager extension in her browser. Later that night, while she slept, I used my knowledge of her habits, our dog's name, her birthday, the street we first lived on, and after a few tries, I was in. It was all there. Years of deleted texts she thought were gone, backed up to the cloud, emails, photos. But the real prize was something she'd forgotten. Her password manager had saved the login for Mark's personal banking account. He had foolishly used her laptop once to check his balance, and he'd clicked Save Password. I spent the next 2 months living a double life. To Sarah, I was the defeated, mopey husband, drifting through the days. In reality, I was an architect of ruin. I downloaded everything, every text, every email, every hotel receipt. From Mark's bank account, I found a trove of information. I discovered he'd been embezzling from their companies, small amounts at first, then larger sums, funneled through shell accounts. He was using company money to fund his affair with my wife. The trips, the jewelry, the fancy dinners at Alinea. It was all paid for by fraud. I hired a private investigator to document their meetings, and now had photos of them kissing outside the Langham, holding hands, walking through Millennium Park. I also hired the best divorce attorney in Chicago. We structured everything perfectly. I moved my assets into a protected trust my lawyer set up. I documented every cent Sarah spent from our joint accounts on her affair. I was building a cage bar by Meticulous Bar. The day I chose for the exposure was their company's annual charity gala, a major event for the Chicago business community. Mark was scheduled to receive a Man of the Year award. Sarah had bought a stunning new dress. She looked beautiful, and the thought made me sick. As she left that night, she gave me a pitying look. "Try to cheer up, David," she said. "Maybe go for a walk." I just nodded. The moment her car was gone, I initiated the final phase. I had compiled all the evidence of Mark's embezzlement into a neat, anonymous package, which was delivered to the company's CEO and board of directors an hour before the gala. I also created a simple, private website. The URL was sent in an anonymous email to every single person on the gala's guest list, including journalists and Sarah's entire family. The subject line was simple: The Real Mark and Sarah. Inside the gala, Mark was on stage, accepting his award. He was thanking his team, his mentors, and then he paused, smiling out at the crowd. And to my incredible colleague Sarah, whose support has meant the world to me. At that exact moment, a wave of murmurs swept through the ballroom. Phones were coming out. Faces shifted from polite attention to shock, then disgust. Sarah, sitting at a front table, looked confused. Then her own phone buzzed. Her face went pale as she looked at the screen. On it were the photos, the texts, the hotel receipts. Mark, still on stage, saw the shift in the room. His smile faltered. Someone near the stage showed him their phone. The color drained from his face. He froze, speechless, in front of hundreds of his peers. The CEO was walking towards the stage, his face like thunder. Security was moving towards Mark. Sarah just sat there, phone in her hand, completely exposed. Her perfect life, her reputation, all of it incinerated in an instant. I wasn't there to see it. I was at home watching a live feed from a news channel covering the event. I felt nothing. No joy, no satisfaction. Just a vast, cold emptiness. The fallout was total. Mark was fired, arrested, and is now facing a federal prison sentence. Sarah was fired for her complicity and the reputational damage. Her family disowned her. Her friends abandoned her. In the divorce, thanks to the mountain of evidence and the infidelity clause in our prenup, she got nothing. She lost the house, her career, her money, everything. The last time I saw her was across a courtroom. She looked like a ghost, all the arrogance and confidence stripped away, leaving only a hollow shell. She tried to catch my eye to say something, but I just turned and walked away. I sold the brownstone in Lincoln Park. I couldn't stand the memories. I live in a quiet high-rise overlooking the lake now. Sometimes, late at night, I stand by the window and look out at the city lights, the same lights that once seemed so full of promise. They say revenge is sweet, but all it left me with was the silence of a life that used to be. I erased her from my life, but I can never erase her from my memory. The end.